This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
Spent a lot of last segment discussing Auburn and Baylor and what that's going to look like, what that's going to mean. I saw some comments from Dave Aranda yesterday, Greg, on stopping the run and how critical that's going to be for his team. Jackson Arnold yesterday meeting with the media talking about that Baylor defense and what he thinks it may look like, what he thinks it may bring to the table.
They're a big simulated zone pressure team, and being able to study that in the field and study what parts of the field that we can attack and take advantage of has been big for us in our film study. And we come out here in the practice field going out and executing our calls and making sure we're running the right routes at the right depths and getting in the windows that we need to get in.
So that's Jackson Arnold just on kind of what he is anticipating from this Baylor defense. And when you look at Auburn in this game, G-Mac, from an offensive standpoint, how does it need to start and what has to be omnipresent for the entire game for Hugh Freeze and his group to be able to find a win in Waco?
I think they got to run the football. He just talked about it right there. I mean, if you look at what has traditionally been for Dave Aranda, he does a great job. And you look at RPOs, which is what Auburn relies heavily on. They have a target defender. Every RPO has kind of a target defender. Like, all right, there's your read guy.
Conflict defender.
Okay. So whatever you're trying to put one guy in particular into conflict. Dave Aranda does a really good job of making sure, and now it's not always, you're not going to bat 1,000. It's impossible to, but he does a really good job of making it difficult on the opposing quarterback to determine which defender is that conflict defender. That's what I find really interesting about this, is that if for whatever reason that conflict defender becomes challenging to assess, then you're in trouble. But if Auburn can run the football, that might force Dave Aranda to abandon ship a little bit and not do as many of those simulated pressures that he's become known for. Simulated pressures are blitzing without really blitzing. You're only bringing 4 guys, but one of those 4 is a linebacker, and one of the guys dropping is a defensive end. Like, your traditional defensive line doesn't always play traditional defensive line spots. That's, I think, a very, very difficult part about being RPO heavy, having to make post-snap decisions when Dave Aranda does as much to confuse and cloud what they're trying to do defensively.
Totally fair. And you and I have mentioned this before. The run game just settles everything down. It makes everything more simple to accomplish, to get to maintain, all of it. Where are you on tempo for Auburn in this game? Should not, pick and choose?
I think Auburn has an advantage from a depth standpoint. So I don't hate tempo. I also think in week 1, doesn't matter what you've done physically all off season, I think it's hard to get to the point to where you can be in game shape.
Isn't it amazing how that works?
I mean, you can run 110s. It's just different.
With 300-yard shuttle, you could have the best time ever. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
matter. By the way,
I
had a couple guys Sunday when I was kind of making fun of the kickers and they were like, you couldn't have hung with this conditioning this offseason. And I said, really? Tell me the conditioning test. Yeah. And the response was, what do you mean conditioning test? I was like, then I don't want to hear it anymore. If you guys didn't have a timed run that you had to make, which was under the majority of what you did the entire summer, don't tell me how hard your conditioning was. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
You're over it, huh?
Don't need it. Don't tell me how tough you had it when you did not have to go out there and be threatened with a time that if you didn't make it, you were going to have to do that again. And, the only times you can come out here and do this today are 11:30, 1, and 1:30 or 2, and they water the field down before you do it. Just get a little extra humidity creeping up from that grass.
Moss?
Just a little.
Just a little moss?
Just a little. Just make that breathability a little more intense.
Just a little bit.
Just a smidge. We didn't have a time conditioning test. All right, then stop. Just quit talking about how hard you guys had it. It's amazing. I'll try to explain this to people. It doesn't. You could crush your 110s. You could crush your 300-yard shuttle. It doesn't. Those first few snaps in a game early in the season.
Different.
I mean, high school, middle school, college, it didn't matter. I just always remember being like, did we do anything? What is happening? Every time. I just sucking wind after 3 plays. Like, I ran every one of them. And you're just dead. Dead! So I agree with you. I think because of that, you have to be very careful with your tempo. Because if you try to go out there and just slam your foot on the gas and guys are reacting that way, which inherently I think most are, just because that intensity is never going to match what it is in a game, you got to be careful with that.
Yep.
Because you can gas yourself out too. Like, yeah, your opponent might not have the depth, but you can put yourself in a corner of, we can't breathe, coach. Sorry, legs aren't working. You got to be really careful with that. But I do think it's something selectively that Auburn can use and may have at their disposal to be able to go out there and get a win. So if it comes down to a lot of these bigger players in these bigger games, who steps up, who makes plays. I want to get to a couple of those later this hour. Chris Nee is going to be with us in about 14 minutes to talk Florida State and what they're going to do. I have some and or some ifs, maybes with that Bama-Florida State game we're going to talk about in our next hour. You can chime in on any of these games as we begin to roll into some game previews. Of course, we'll go Max Ball Friday. Y'all know what we do here. That's what it is. That's just kind of how we operate.
You love it.
I do love it. And I know you love Bromberg's.
I do. Bromberg's been great. Been going there for years and years and years, and will continue to for the foreseeable future because of the experience I have all the time. The experience is just off the charts good. You'll understand what I'm talking about when you walk in the door. The sales staff's knowledge, their ability to point you in the right direction, their ability to help you out when you don't really know what to get, when you have a budget that you're trying to stay within. They can give you all the different options that fit within that budget, and the way they continue to enhance the experience when you walk in the door. I'm always so grateful to the wonderful people at Bromberg's because of that experience. That's why I will never, ever shop anywhere else, and why I will continue to go there for as long as I'm around. And it's buying generational items, items that will be potentially in your family for several generations. These are important purchases, and you don't want to mess around. So I go with the company that's been around for nearly 200 years. I'd go see them in Mountain Brook Village, where they are renovating the store to enhance your experience. You can go see them at the Summit. You can also check them out online at brombergs.com.
All right, let's go to Jason in Pelham. He wants to talk college football games coming up this weekend. Jason, what's on your mind today? Jason, got it. You think that's the way it's going to go?
I like how confident he is.
Bringing the bold takes this morning.
Sometimes
don't hold back.
Sometimes you just got to send it.
Just drop an elbow on everybody. Let them know. Let them know your thoughts there. I appreciate the gusto here early in the morning. He was going to talk Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah.
And I think I have this internal question on LSU going into this weekend of offensively, is Garrett Nussmeier more important, or not including the wide receivers, because I know we know what they're capable of.
Right.
But is the rest of it on that side of the ball more important? Which has to be better, Nuss or the combo of offensive line, offensive coordinator, running backs? I might even throw tight ends in that group as well, because I think Mason Taylor really flew under the radar last year with just the things that he provided for that team and how good he was.
Yeah, you got a tight end that can stretch the field.
Well, think about the big catches too late in
the
games.
Sale, you got to say. I mean, you got a tight end that can stretch the field. But there's literally nothing else that needs to be said.
But if I asked you that question, if you were an LSU fan and I could guarantee you one, the O-line, the play calling, the running backs, the tight end will play better, or Garrett Nussmeier will play better, which would you want?
I would say it'd be more beneficial for the offensive line to win than Garrett Nussmeier to go off.
I think I'll be with you there. And for your play caller to say, it's okay if we hand the ball off a couple times in this game. We will allow you to do that. Here, inside zone. Power. Run it. To allow that to take place, I think is obviously going to give you different things, different advantages. So I think I would go with you on that one. And that's kind of where I would be on it. But It's different people want different things. Some people think quarterbacks need to go out there and win your games. When you have a quarterback to that level, that he needs to go out there and dominate, and that's the way it needs to go.
A quarterback can win you games, but the funny thing is, everyone's like, "Oh, quarterback can elevate the quarterback, everybody else." Yes, they can for sure, but the quarterback is also heavily reliant on everybody else doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Elite quarterback play elevates everybody, but it's hard to be elite when people aren't doing their job around you. I don't care what anybody says, unless you're Lamar Jackson, in which case Garrett Nussmeier has underwent a significant change in skill set to be able to keep plays alive and extend plays and run and willingness to run, unless he has completely and dramatically changed who he is in the last 9 months. I don't envision him becoming anything like Lamar Jackson. The other thing I'd say about him is I'm nervous about the knee. I'll be honest with you, I'm nervous about the knee. I'm nervous about him being a little banged up, not at 100%. If he's not at 100%, do they have enough beyond him to go out and win the game?
Which maybe answers the question of the other parts need to be better necessarily than him right now. Because if those other parts aren't there, and because you said it when that conversation began of, I don't care if it's 30% dinged, 80% dinged, not dinged, all the way dinged. We have to think about that now. That has to be a concern now. I'm worried about it.
Should be.
Because we won't really know until we see it. So I think you have to at least look at it and say, if that thing's not right, what does that do to that offense? What does that do to that football team? All right, a couple folks tweeting into the show. At Mac and Cube, you can be a part of the show there. 800-239-9569 to get on the Higginbotham hotline. Text in 205-834-9450. Watch us live on YouTube every day. Search Jocks945. Jolly tweets in, I don't know that if Auburn loses, it's the end. But based on Free's criticism early in the summer, golf/recruiting, they would definitely be digging a hole and making it that much harder. Auburn definitely needs the moral victory for morale. That's kind of down the road of where we were heading earlier. Would you agree? That's from an important standpoint, that one's critical for them. And then two people going to the same game, which we haven't spent a lot of time on yet. Obviously, Friday we'll dive into it to an extreme. Royal Payne tweets, I think the South Carolina-Virginia Tech game is going to be a lot more interesting than people think. South Carolina starts slow often, and they have new pieces. Virginia Tech still has a hot, cold quarterback and can step up at times, such as the Miami game. And then Hunter Herlong tweets in, thoughts on Virginia Tech versus South Carolina. I think a lot of what Royal Payne said there feels accurate. Kyron Jones has big playability. Kyron Jones has the ability to also give you the ball back and hurt his team as much as he's helping his team. You've added some new wide receiver prowess. You got a new running back coming in, which you were super solid at running back last year. That's going to be a little bit different. Majority of the offensive line in place, but it's a team that just kind of couldn't get out of their own way at times last year. And this is one to me, Greg, that feels like one of two things happen. Either the team that plays the cleanest football and it's a competitive game wins, therefore that 1-2 turnovers or a missed field goal here becomes massive, or Dylan Stewart and Lenore Sellers just take over and there's not much that Virginia Tech can do about it.
Yeah, I think that's the question. But I think Virginia Tech is very dangerous. I'm not suggesting that they're going to go and just run it down their throat, but you got a new defensive personnel kind of across the board going against a group that has a dynamic quarterback that did not live up to expectations last year. I think it's a game that South Carolina needs to be very, very careful with. I really, really think that Virginia Tech is a team that you don't really want to mess around with.
I'm with you. And I like what Virginia Tech went and got in Kyle Altuner at center from West Virginia. I think he ups the ante on physicality in the middle of that offensive line just a little bit more, has experience. And then you go get wide receiver and Cam Selden from Tennessee. You go get a Donovan Green at wide receiver from Wake, 23 for 383 touchdowns last year. So has real experience in college football. So Virginia Tech now has options on the offensive line. They went and got some bodies that have played a lot of college football. That'll help the depth there. I'm most interested in what Virginia Tech wants to be offensively in this game. Are you going to test that new D-line and say, all right, those three big D tackles are gone. We're going to go right at the middle. Monkel Goodwine, some of those guys that have been around for a while, can they be the same? Can they be similar? Do they shut that down early, put the game in Kyron Jones' hands, and then allow some of your pass rushers to tee off? And not just Stewart, but Byron Thomas has been there. We think he can get after the quarterback a little bit. And they'll have a plan to be able to draw some things up, devise ways to get Dylan Stewart one-on-one. Don't be surprised if Dylan Stewart lines up all over the place, by the way. I don't think he's just going to be, okay, I'm off right tackle, left tackle, let's go get it off the edge. I think they're going to be creative with what he does. He's too good and too valuable not to find ways to free him up and get him some one-on-ones. But that's to me sort of the way that one goes. It's either a turnover game, sloppy game, and whoever makes the least mistakes probably wins, or I think South Carolina's takeover players end up stepping up and taking over. And there's just not a lot Virginia Tech can do about it. But I am with you on, listen, it's kind of the theme here. Some Auburn fans overlooking Baylor. Be careful. Tennessee, be very careful. South Carolina, be careful. These are not going to be the roll the ball out there, bigger, badder guy, bigger, badder brand goes out there and wins just because of who you are. I just don't see that taking place that way. So we'll move on to Bama, Florida State. Chris Nee going to join us to discuss the Florida State side of things when we come back. Before we do that and move on to that game, if you're looking to move out of your house, Greg, who do you call?
That'd be Crocker Moving Services. It's a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether your whole home back to move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase and need to get to your home. So call visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Service for your next move.
Who's been stepping up in Florida State camp? What players out there does Bama need to be on alert for? We'll ask Chris Nee, who covers the Seminoles, right after this on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:21, Wednesday, August 27th, right here on Jocks, as we get you set for kickoff of week one. Coming up tomorrow night, actually. A lot of good Thursday night games, a lot of interesting Friday night games. We're going to have plenty of time to discuss. We're going to go back towards Alabama and Florida State in just a moment, visit with Chris Nee. But first, don't forget, if you miss any interviews, you miss any segments, including Greg having his neck needled on the show yesterday, dry needled, you can go to jocksfm.com, get the Jocks app, just search Jocks945 in your podcast, your app store. That'll take you to the YouTube. That'll give you podcast. You can listen live. Also tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. You'll understand why when you go and look at what they have on the lot. It's off the charts good. You can get you deals that you won't find anywhere else, like a Buick Encore GX, which is a sporty economical SUV. There's a reason why they keep people coming back, because you're getting $5,000 off a car that cost $29,000. You can get it for under $25,000. That's a deal that you just won't find anywhere else. You can also go and get a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, $14,000 off the sticker. 67 is what you pay elsewhere. You pay $53 at Bill Smith. The deals like that just continue to elevate the experience every single time you walk in the door. They're the very best, and you'll be glad that you shopped at Bill Smith. That's why 75% of their business are repeat customers. That's why they've won 8 national championships as the GMC Dealer of the Year. So go and take the short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
You can follow Chris Nee on Twitter at CNee, NEE247, and find his work on the 247 network covering the Florida State Seminoles. Chris, I'm interested most, and I want to know if you have any clearer picture of what the offensive style is going to be, because a lot of people just think, oh, Norvell and Gus work together. These are two very different offenses. What is the mesh of those two going to look like in your mind when they face off against Alabama this weekend?
I'm expecting it to be very Gus-centric, very much what Malzahn has done, especially in recent years at a place like UCF, maybe some of what he did with Plumlee, with Castellanos, but I think a little bit more passer friendly than maybe it was with Plumlee.
All right, so if it goes that direction just a little bit more, what kind of a game are you anticipating from Thomas Castellanos against Alabama and his role? What do you anticipate that looking like?
I think FSU is going to have to lean heavily on his legs, try to create some big bust plays, essentially Sandlot type of plays where they can extend it. But that also comes down to pressure, reducing pressure. FSU is rolling out there with 5 new offensive linemen, 4 of whom are new to the program. All are very experienced transfers, but you're going to see that group trying to play together for the first time ever. And As you guys know, with an O-line, a lot of it's nuance, understanding, a comfort with the guy beside you, knowing how they operate in this moment, this situation. And that's all going to be new. And you're facing arguably one of the best defenses in the country, and certainly one of the best defensive front sevens in Alabama, who's going to create a great deal of pressure. So for FSU to really have a chance in this game offensively, I think it's going to have to be Castellanos being a bit of the magician that we've seen him be at times, especially like 2023 version of him at Boston College.
When you look at Castellanos, by all accounts, the fall camp was a little underwhelming. I'm hoping that it is because Florida State's better defensively for their sake, but I'm also a little concerned looking back at Castellanos over the years and his inconsistency throwing the football. So if they can't run it as well as they hope, is he a guy that's capable of kind of throwing them out of a jam?
I don't think so personally. I think Tommy is very much who we think he is. I mean, he's got 500 plus pass reps in college. You are allowed to get better, but I don't think he's going to take some big leap as a passer. He's not the most accurate pushing it down the field. Thing with him is more so, and especially in the Gus Miles on offense, is hitting on the quick stuff early on to put yourself in favorable downs where you have an attempt at a shot play because you're playing in a one-on-one situation. FSU's routinely throughout the preseason, both players and coaches talked about having to win one-on-ones in this game, and I think the only way the passing attack works is if they're in favorable situations where they do have those one-on-ones, and that comes down to guys like a Deuce Robinson or Squirrel White or a freshman Javon Boggs at wide receiver, really going and making the big play, outdoing very highly talented defensive backs for Alabama. And I just think that's a big ask. I think FSU would be cooked if they get into a game where they have to be pass happy with Tommy Castellanos.
We're hearing good things about Bama's D-line. We think there's a chance, we're not saying it's definitive, a chance that group could excel and be really solid. What are you hearing about the Florida State offensive line so far through camp?
So the five that they expect to rely upon has been consistently the same five, and that's really been true since December, January, when they brought four of those guys in. The group from left to right is going to be Gunnar Hansen, transfer from Vanderbilt, Richie Leonard, who's returning to FSU for a second year after coming in from Florida, Luke Pettibon, an all-ACC-type caliber center from Wake Forest, Adrian Medley, who came along with Gus from UCF at right guard, and then right tackle was Micah Pettis, who came in from Ole Miss. In that group, they love Pettibon. He's sort of like the guy for them. He's an excellent leader. He's a very mature kid. He's a football kid. They love him. You listen to Herb Hand, offensive line coach for Florida State, talk about him, and he just gushes about him in that sense. I think the concern with that group more than anything, especially because they didn't really get much of a spring together because of injuries among the group, is just sort of meshing, like handling it when Bama's throwing something exotic or awkward at you or something you did not prepare for in film or in scout. How is that group going to handle it when it's five guys that have never, ever played beside one another in this element? I think that group will get better as the year goes on and be a strength potentially by the end of the year. But I think out of the gate against an Alabama defensive front that's able to win so many one-on-ones, like a guy like LT Overton just creating havoc, I think it's a tall task and it's going to be difficult for them.
What about the you kind of referenced already, but the defense for Florida State? Tony White comes over, implements a different style, going with a 3-3-5 from Nebraska. He had a top 20 unit last year at Nebraska. I think he did a really nice job. He decides to leave. I was amazed that Florida State was able to woo him after a 2-10. But I also am really curious to see what this group might look like across the board. So what will be the strengths of this Florida State defense?
Florida State's defense will go as their defensive line, their defensive front goes, and that's led by James Williams, who came over with Tony from Nebraska, Darrell Jackson, who returned to FSU after going in the NFL draft, and Jason Jenkins, who came in from Tennessee. Jenkins just got back a couple weeks ago from an injury that limited him throughout the preseason and spring, so obviously playing a little bit of catch-up, but he's a guy that they expect to be a central piece. If that group is able to do things up front, I think Tony White is a very talented football coach who's very good at drawing up things in that scheme, that Rocky Long 3-3-5, that really throws teams for loops. But I think it all has to be set up by the front guys doing their job. Behind those guys, I think Jeremiah Wilson, who's now going by Jerry Wilson, he's a transfer in from Houston, who is originally from Central Florida. He's sort of your cornerback one, and he very much helped set that group up in that secondary in the sense of changing the pecking order and giving you a guy who seems kind of like a bona fide dude. Very talented kid. very good at being around the ball. He's been extremely enjoyable to hear about the competition between him and Deuce Robinson at wide receiver for FSU throughout the preseason. And their linebacker group, I wouldn't describe as being like a bona fide like strength, like amazing, but I do think it's one of the better linebacker groups we've had in Tallahassee in the last several years. That group is sort of led at Jack by Omar Graham, who's returning a bit to his high school element of being more a downhill pass rusher. And in this scheme, I think that plays to his strength. It's something he didn't really get to do in prior years as he played for Adam Fuller and Randy Shannon at linebacker coach. And then they brought in Elijah Herring, who began his career at Tennessee, struggled a little bit with the Volunteers, went to Memphis and was very good. They're going to use him as a Mike at FSU. I think he's going to be a tackle collector for them. And then Justin Cryer, who's a returning piece for them, is the third backer in that group. And I think they feel confident that that group is sound. But for FSU's defense to be good, it comes down to James Williams, Darrell Jackson, Jason Jenkins being dudes up front for them. And that's a little to be determined, especially with Jenkins coming off the injury so late.
Chris Nee joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking Florida State as they're going to take on Alabama this weekend. Staying on defense, the mindset of what to attack, potentially try to take away, be it going after Ty Simpson, the Alabama rushing attack, but yet dealing with this receiver core. Where would you try to place that balance heading in on what you've heard, the information you've gathered through fall camp?
I think the goal is to limit their ability to run it and put the game on Ty Simpson's shoulders as a passer, which is, again, a big task because the talent he has to distribute it to is extremely good. But I think the goal is you just want to make Ty Simpson basically in his first true bona fide start on the road have to be the guy. And I think that's the goal. And that comes down to, one, just being good against the run, getting yourself in favorable downs and situations. And then two, winning up front, putting pressure upon him, not allowing him to have a clean pocket. Because if he has 4 or 5 seconds with the talent that he has to distribute the ball to as a passer, they're going to get the better of you. But I think the goal ultimately is to make Ty Simpson uncomfortable on the day. But you got to stop the run to allow that to be a thing you can do. You're basically rewarded by getting yourself in favorable downs, but that comes to stopping the run out of the gate.
There we go. Chris, great stuff. Thanks for getting us tuned in on this Florida State football team, what's happened through camp, getting set for kickoff against Alabama. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right, guys. Take it easy. There
you go. Chris Nee of the 24/7 Sports Network at CNEE 247. You can follow him on Twitter. So if you were to try to decipher where the Seminoles try to attack, what they try to take away, at least initially, Greg, with that receiver core out there, it's just kind of hard for me to imagine that you're stacking the box saying we're not going to let you run the football.
Yeah.
And I know that we've talked about with Ryan Grubb being back that Alabama could become more of that, wants to do that. But I don't know if that's where your emphasis can be based on Bernard, Williams, Horton, and others that can hurt you down the field.
I fully expect Alabama to come out and to try to run the ball, but probably acknowledge that Florida State's going to completely sell it against the run. Like, they're going to sell it. You can't make the make the inexperienced quarterback beat you.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be Florida State's plan, no?
Yeah, I would think.
I mean, and they're probably looking at like old Jaden Roberts might not go. They're down a right guard potentially. Whereas we know that Jaden Roberts might not start the season at all because of the quality of depth Bama has at guard. Still, from Florida State's standpoint, they might be thinking, all right, they're down a guard. They have an inexperienced quarterback. They got really good weapons on the outside, but I still would rather take away the run before I take away the pass.
Yeah.
Even though my opinion, this team is a very dangerous passing attack. I think the weapons that Bama has, probably their best attribute. So I'll be curious. Like, what does Florida State decide to do? Did they say, we're going to defend Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and Isaiah Horton? Those guys aren't going to get behind us. Or did they say, we're going to sell it against the run. We'll take our chances against an inexperienced quarterback.
Right. I think it's super intriguing to see kind of which direction that they go and how they try to play that off. We'll hear a little bit from Kalen DeBoer on where he thinks it's going to be, how it's going to go. Kane Womack, you'll hear from him as well. And we get to a little bit of either or, over-under, so to speak, on individual, team, position, group performances in some of these big matchups next right here on Jocks.
the capital of the sports talk nation. This is Jocks 94.5 and JocksFM.com. Birmingham.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 8:38, Wednesday, August 27th, right here on Jocks. Appreciate you tuning in. 800-239-9569. If you want to be a part of the show, a couple of you waiting on hold. We'll get to you here in just a moment. I'm going to give you guys some ultimatums back and forth of who you think is going to perform better for certain teams in some of these bigger matchups a little bit later this week. But first, Kalen DeBoer yesterday, just on how excited he is for that challenge against Florida State this weekend.
Excited about this last week of preparation. Guys, I think, are in a good spot. We continue to, have those dings continue to be healed up here nicely last week. And so getting, like I said, time to play, see where we're at. And, I think this team that we got here going on the road, be a great test with Florida State. We know that from the coaching staff, head coach Coach Norvell and two new coordinators, been a lot of film for us to pour through. We know that they've done a great job over their careers individually and now collectively. Know that we're going to face a good test here this weekend.
So that's Kalen DeBoer on his excitement level for that test coming up against Florida State. You mentioned the Jaden Roberts injury a little bit earlier, GMAC. Kalen DeBoer with an update on his status.
I'd say Jaden Roberts, still in question, just with what he's going through in the protocol and the process there. So he's progressing. So we'll kind of see here.
So that's Jaden Roberts' update. Your expectations for him? Do you think it's just going to be one like let that go through week one?
I don't think he's going to go this week, but we'll see. I mean, he's been kind of banged up all camp. Like, how ready would he be to even get out there and play, even if available? Do you think he's in game shape enough, having not practiced a ton this camp, to go out there and start? I have a hard time envisioning that.
If he's been held out of contact, things of that nature, then I would say, yeah, you probably let that one sit until the next week and try to get that thing ready and try to wait and see how that one goes. And also, Kalen DeBoer, just on year two differences, what it is this year maybe compared to last year just a little bit.
Consistency in practice, consistency with how guys handle each other when maybe there's a moment that doesn't go as well. And it doesn't even have to be on the practice field. It can be anything. And then just accountability to each other, if there's something that's just not to the level that they know, it doesn't mean that someone did something wrong. I'm talking about at the level, and making that guys that are new to the program understand what that level should be. There's just a great investment that you see, and that leads to the consistency that I'm talking about. In the end, I really feel like these guys, their investment's been at extremely high level. And if there was a rep or two in practice that didn't go their way, those individuals that group together, I missed a pass, they're going to put in the extra work and get that pass right after practice. And so, these guys want it. They want it, and the actions have supported, the work that it's supported through the work they've put in to reach their goals.
What can people look at, Greg, that you think will be noticeable as far as differences between year one, year two with this Alabama football team early on?
Man, I think the defensive comfort. I think that's the biggest thing. I think offensively, it's easy to point to, well, Grubb's back, so it's going to be different. I think the offense is going to look very similar to last year, with the exception of the skill set that the quarterback now has. I think identity-wise, they're still going to be similar. Now, quarterback run game is not going to be a huge part of what they do, fine, but they're still going to use a lot of the same sets, a lot of the same formations, a lot of the same identities, use of jet sweeps, moving receivers around, trying to create one-on-ones, being aggressive downfield. Like, they're still going to do some of those things. The other thing that we'll be missing will be quarterback run game. But I think the biggest thing that we'll see from year one to year two this year will be a comfort level within Kane Womack's defense early in the season. That group took a little while, especially on third down, fourth down, to kind of gel last season. I think they tried to figure out, all right, what do we have from a personnel standpoint that can rush the passer? I think they know LT Overton is a versatile defender, can do a lot of things for you. I think Quay Rousseau now can be a difference maker off the edge. Like, I think they know a little bit more about their personnel. I think they know now they don't have to protect their secondary because they can go as well as anybody in this country at that position. So I think that's a great starting point. So the biggest thing from year 1 to year 2 from my vantage point is not so much the understanding of what they want to be from a philosophical standpoint offensively, but it's the comfort level within the scheme defensively that should allow that group to progress faster than it did a year ago.
All right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in Jeremy in Gilmer, Texas. Wants to talk Bama. Welcome in, Jeremy.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you for listening in Texas.
Absolutely, man. Listen, I grew up in Alabama when I was a kid, moved back to Texas. So I grew up an Alabama fan growing up. And, Greg, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today because I'm going to take you back a ways back, man. I watched you at South Lake Carroll versus Lufkin, Texas at Stephen F. Austin way back. Do you remember that game? I'm sure you do.
Do I remember that game? Yes, I absolutely remember that game. Semifinals.
Threw for 90 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
I think I threw 390 and about 5 touchdowns. It was high school, not college.
Warm-ups.
But I did have to go against Des Bryant, who I think went for about 300 himself, and a couple touchdowns on the outside.
That was a great game, man. I didn't like. We were living in Lufkin at the time, and I didn't like you that much. But when you came to Alabama, I loved you a lot, man. So I'm glad you went to Alabama after that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Just kind of reliving those high school days. But I guess my question was today, just you guys with Ty Simpson coming in for Bama this week, and like you said, not a lot of experience, but it's been there a while. How long do you think, if let's just say he struggles a little bit, how long do you think Kalen DeBoer leaves him in there and says, maybe we need to try somebody else or that, or do you think it might be a couple of weeks to adjust? Just playing the kind of the devil's advocate. Appreciate you guys. I'll hang up and listen. Appreciate the call.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate you listening in the great state of Texas. G-Mac, your thoughts there?
I mean, I think he's got a remarkably long leash. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about there. I think if you're Ty Simpson, it's your show. I think he's done a great job in camp of proving that it's his team, having full control of what the team wants to be, having full control of the offense. I don't think this is a scenario where you're going to fast forward and all of a sudden, Ty is now they're second guessing their opinion of Ty being their guy. Like, I think it'd have to be really bad for them to even consider going with the next guy. So I think Kalen, having played the position, understands the mental thought process that goes into playing the quarterback. And let's be real. Let's look back at last year. How many situations came up throughout the season where you felt like it was probably warranted to maybe give the next guy a look at quarterback? There were a couple, right?
Yeah, a few, yeah.
And they stuck with Jalen all the way through. So I don't think Kalen wants to be a coach that is going with the quarterback by committee type of approach.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if it were somebody else that was solidified that we had seen, we could maybe come to this conclusion. But you're talking about potentially going to a true freshman that we've never seen. And some people are thinking that that's going to be a better option.
And I don't even think it'd be the true freshman is not the next man up. I know while people wanted to look at that, I'm just telling you the true freshman is not the next man up. It's not.
How many career passes in games does Austin Mack have?
I don't care.
But my point is who you're going to.
Oh.
If you're bringing in a bona fide starter for another team that may be less talented that could hold you through, and you said, okay, like if you're a Michigan situation, we'll say, and you had true freshmen playing, we hadn't seen him, we don't really know, and I understand Ty's experience in Michigan and Bryce Underwood's very different, but if you were going to a guy, Mikey Keene, that had played, that knew it, that had been in games, that understood the speed, the athleticism, the physicality of it, how to get in and out of things, you might say, yeah, maybe that's a better option for us. Maybe we'll look at that. Especially in this game, what are you doing at Ty Simpson for the rest of the year if you say you have any kind of a short leash? You have to give him the opportunity to go out there and solidify himself as the guy at quarterback. So I'm with you, G-Mac. I just don't think that's feasible, that's out there, that's even a part of it. Couple more of you on hold. Stay there. We'll get to you when we come back. 800-239-9569. Text lines open. 205-834-9450. More on these games right after this on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy Cubelic in the morning. Want your feedback on some of these games coming up this weekend. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, about your CBD store. Don't forget, listen online, jocksfm.com. I've had 3 different people text me this morning. How can I listen to y'all? They're not in Birmingham, but people outside of the listening area. The Jocks app is always there. You can watch us live on YouTube, jocksfm.com. We're on live in Mobile, Montgomery, Huntsville, obviously Birmingham. A lot of different ways to tune in. We can appreciate that. We know football season's here, so folks kind of coming back.
Welcome back.
This is where all the political guys used to go on air. Did Matt Murphy used to go on and say goodbye to his listeners this week, like on Monday?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in, guys. We'll see you in
Yeah.
Now it's see you in February because we go till what, January 20th, 22nd?
Yeah, forever.
Let's keep pushing it back.
We ride.
I want to go right into March Madness.
It's a lot of ball.
Guys, after the national championship this weekend, let's dive into the Dayton region as soon as this game's over next week. See what that's going to look like.
Heck yeah. Let's go.
Your CBD store has products, thankfully, for better focus throughout the course of the day. So if we needed those to dial in on some of these teams, some of these games, we'd have that. Better night's sleep. Your CBD store has answers for that. And they're open. Don't listen to the local news. Don't think that they've been shut down. That's not true. They're there. They've got the products they've always had. Treats for your dog, skincare, gut health, anxiety, arthritis. They've helped a couple dogs in my household with arthritis be able to get around just a little bit better. They can help yours also at your CBD store. If you need it for your daily routine, better night's sleep, better focus throughout the course of the day, your CBD store's got it. Maybe even just to take the edge off in the evenings. They've got product that can help you there. First company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. Visit one of their 4 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. All right, let's knock out a couple more calls, and then we're going to go to a little and if or next hour after Larry Williamson talks Clemson. BR in Vestavia, welcome into the show.
What's going on, guys? Hey, Greg, last night we were coming home from Cole. We were coming home from the ball fields, and you got my 11-year-old fired up about Auburn. We heard you on Ian. I'm taking them out to the game tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
I was curious from.
You're gonna have fun.
You weren't on with Ian Fitzsimmons last night, so he's talking to me.
It's an awesome. He said Greg too, but it's an awesome environment, man. It's one of those places where you don't really think like, oh man, what an environment. I mean, we go to LSU, we go to Bama, we go to Tennessee. Like I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome. You're going to have a great time in Waco. It's really cool.
I'd love to go to a game.
Where's a good barbecue place?
You can't go wrong. The best if you're are you flying to Dallas or are you flying to Waco?
Waco.
If there's a pecan lodge down there, that'd be the one. Make sure you get brisket though. Like you can get good brisket here, but Texas is brisket capital of the world. So go brisket.
Be careful.
All right.
It is. We're whole hog barbecue here in the South.
I'm saying the pitmasters here in Birmingham are going to get mad at you for that. You can't.
We are really good with pork.
Ever here.
We're the best with pork.
Ever.
Texas is beef.
Do that.
It's brisket. It's different. It's no disrespect.
Okay.
The brisket is better in Texas.
Golden Domer, welcome into the show. You're on the Higginbotham Hotline.
Top of the morning, gentlemen. We made the game week.
Made it.
We did it.
I mean, technically last week, but yeah, we're here again.
Yeah, that don't count. All right, look.
Ooh, got him.
So last night we had the meeting of the minds. We had some heated debates, and I want to get y'all's intake, and I want to get the listeners' intake. I would love to get them in. But we had Bama Hater, myself, Legend, Pelham Gator, and we all are at dinner debating some topics, okay? And a topic come up, and I wanted to kind of get y'all's opinion on, okay? So, in my opinion, weekends like this weekend, the opening weekend, we have multiple matchups between the almighty and dominant SEC versus other Power 5 conferences. These are the weekends that the SEC should dominate. And you look at this Baylor-Auburn game. How does Auburn, with all the 4-star recruits, a couple even 5-star recruits, how do they not just run Baylor off the field with their 2-star little white boys running around if everything we say about the SEC is true?
How do we know they won't?
But what I'm saying though is, but now now that Auburn's playing Baylor, now all of a sudden Baylor's a good team. But in the preseason, the Big 12 is inferior to the SEC.
Not on this show.
Okay, but you know that's the narrative, Cole.
I feel like we've given Baylor plenty of respect on this show.
You have.
We've given BYU plenty of respect on this show. We've given Colorado respect on this show. We've given Oklahoma State respect on this show. That's not our narrative here, though. So we can't play that game. If you want to play that game with other people that use that narrative, you can do that there.
This is McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.